Okay, good morning to everyone. I want to, first of all, thank Rabbi Smith and everyone for coming and listening and being involved with a good feeling, positive energy.
Tanya.
And we're beginning now the Tanya. And just before we start, good morning. I want to wish everyone also a blessing for Rosh Chodesh. Tonight is the first day of Rosh Chodesh, tomorrow, and Shabbos Chodesh. So tomorrow is the 30th day of Shvat, the last day of Shvat, and Shabbos Chodesh is the first day of the month of Adar, and approximately 2 weeks later, on Thursday, 2 weeks from today, from tonight, will be Purim. This year, Purim comes out on Friday. So Purim and before Purim is a time of happiness, and we want to be more happy. And Hashem tells us in the Torah that when we learn Torah together, we become happy. The Torah, B'kudi Hashem Yesharim Misamchi Leiv. It says that the Torah has to make us happy, because when we learn Torah, we are bringing Hashem closer to us, more revealed. Hashem is always here, but he's not always so revealed. But through learning Torah together, we are able to reveal the Kedusha, the holiness of Hashem to us, and then from us, it makes an impact on the whole world. As the Rambam says, that when a person does mitzvah, even though they're doing it in their private domain, Hashem says you're making a global impact. So we finished learning on Sunday about the need for purification, that the neshama needs to go through purification through different methods that is explained in the Zohar, and for certain sins. So again, it's not so comfortable in general to talk about these things, because it's painful, and it's not such a positive thing to talk about. But I was learning that the Hasidus usually doesn't go into all these harsh punishments and consequences, but over here specifically, it has to be addressed, because a person should know what they need to do once and for all. They get the information, and they have it written black and white, and you have to know the consequences of your actions. But of course, the focus has to be on the positive. That's why he says that a person should not indulge in the physical world and lusts of this world into the point, to the extreme, that becomes their main priority, and obviously that they don't pay attention much to Hashem and to the neshama, to the needs of their soul. That's wrong. You have to elevate the physical world, and you have to enjoy the physical world, but always recognize the source of the blessings. If a person eats, they say a blessing before and after they eat. If a person earns money, very good. Enjoy the money, but give tzedakah and be humble. Don't flaunt your wealth. And we go through life with all the blessings that we don't take for granted. A lot of people end up in trouble because they don't have discipline. They don't know how to control what they have. They have no boundaries and no parameters. And that's a big problem.
Rabbi, excuse me, we're going through chapter 9 now?
No, we're still the end of chapter 8.
Okay, thank you.
So we're exactly where it says, if a person has the opportunity to learn Torah, and he decides to occupy himself with things that are trivial, that are not important, not for business, not for their family, not for their health, just to kill time. That's a sin. That's something very wrong. This punishment that we mentioned on the other day, that the neshama is thrown like a slingshot from back and forth, that's not going to help. Not going to be enough to purify the neshama from its stains, from its negative energy. That there has to be, God forbid, harsh punishments for the neshama for not learning Torah properly, for neglecting the Torah, for being negligent to the Torah. A person who thinks that they're not going to do the mitzvahs, why? Because they're lazy. When they're not in the mood, they don't want to be pushed. They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to change their habits. So God forbid, there is such a concept that says in the Zohar that the neshama ends up in the Gehenim Shel Shelag, in a purgatory of snow. Why snow? It's just like snow is freezing and the person doesn't feel comfortable being in the snow unless they're dressed well. But if they don't have proper clothing, it's very cold. It's very disturbing, very difficult. So the neshama also gets, God forbid, goes, this is a parable, doesn't mean literally, there's no snow in heaven. It means that the consequence of the snow, the heaviness of the snow, the pain of being undressed and rolling in snow is a tremendous pain. So
burns.
Now we know.
It burns.
It burns, it hurts, it stings, it's terrible. You know, sometimes when I take a shower, so I'm just the thought that when the shower is going to finish, when I'm going to finish with the shower, going just one step out of the shower, and it might be a tiny bit cold from the air conditioning vent, already makes me upset, makes me uncomfortable. Why? I don't like that feeling. I don't like to feel that I have cold air blowing on me when I'm not covered, right? So we're so, in Hebrew we say mufunak, we're very pampered and we're very babyish in a sense that we cannot handle pain. What are the two worst things for a person in this world? The worst two things is pain and not being independent, not having full control of what they want to do. Pain, it drives a person crazy. A person who has pain, physical pain, God forbid, or mental pain, or emotional pain, or financial pain, or relationship pain. Pain is very, very difficult. And every day that your person is painless, pain-free, they're tremendously blessed. If you want to, sometimes, if you need a lift, you need to feel how blessed you are, how lucky you are, all you got to do is either go to the hospital or, now today they don't let you in, but go to a nursing home, or you know what it is, you have been there before, and just go back to those images, just walking through the halls, and people are laying in bed with pipes and in aches and pains and worried and nervous. And if you're able to walk around on your 2 feet and you're able to smile, and you're able to feel good, and you're not locked down to a bed. You don't need the services of a nurse. You're the happiest, you're the most blessed person, and it's priceless.
Yeah.
So neshama also wants to feel happy. The neshama also wants to feel that it doesn't have pain. What's the neshama's pain? The neshama has pain that it wants to learn Torah, it wants to do mitzvot, and the Yetzer Hara doesn't want to let it get close to Hashem. And this is the power of the learning of the Tanya together. That we're learning together, we're giving each other strength, and we're learning the words of the big tzaddik, the Baal Tanya, the Shnei Zalman. He was given this task, this great schut, great merit to putting together to write the Tanya, and he inspires us that we're able to feed the neshama and give the neshama what it needs. The neshama is begging to be close to Hashem, and we're able to do it.
What is neshama? Who is neshama?
The neshama is your soul inside, your godly soul.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, your godly soul in you wants to feel close to Hashem, does not want to feel controlled by an outside force. And that's what I said before. These are the two things that are the most painful for a person: to be in any type of pain and to lose control. What's the punishment of prison? God forbid. The person is the same person. They're sleeping, they're eating, they could smile, they could joke, they can work, but they don't have independence. They don't have their freedom. They have to go to sleep when they're told it's time to go to sleep. They can't say, no, I'm not going to sleep. I want to go wherever I want. No, you can't. You're locked down to a certain environment, even if there's no physical torture in that prison. But the fact that the person does not have their independence makes them very, very upset. So spiritually, the neshama wants to be free and not locked down by the Yetzer Hara, by the evil inclination, by the sins, by the desires, by the passions. So that's what he's saying, that we have to release ourselves, liberate ourselves from all the trappings of the Yetzer Hara. A person who is able to learn Torah and decides that they're not interested, they don't want to learn Torah, they want to learn other matters. So now they are bringing the impurity of the other matters, of the other subjects, into their brain. He's going to say soon, you have to wait to the end, that if you're able to take the other subject matters, the other learning, like math and science and engineering, and you're able to utilize it for Torah, to understand the Torah better, to put together a sukkah, to put together an eruv or a mikveh, and all these things, you have to understand how to build it, how it works, and you need the information of the calculations. Then it's okay. That's why the Rambam and the Ramban, they were able to utilize this secular knowledge for Torah. Then that's okay. We're talking about someone, for instance, another example, someone wants to be a psychologist or psychiatrist or a therapist or a doctor, and they want to help people. That's good. First of all, they'll earn a living. Second of all, they can help society. That's positive. But if someone wants to just go and study in college, university, just because they're bored, they don't cherish Torah, that's a very negative thing. Because we have the Torah, and the Torah is our strength, it's our gift from Hashem, And in the Torah, you have all the information you need. Unless you're a person, again, that you have to earn a living, you have to become an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor or another trade, and you need it to survive, you need it for survival, you need it to provide for your family. Okay, you work with computers, whatever it is, then Hashem says you're doing it for the right reasons. But just because if a person doesn't do it for that reason, just wants to learn or study other things because they're bored, because they think the grass is greener on the other side, they don't appreciate as much Torah, then it's negative. Then you're not supposed to do that. Again, we're talking about there has to be a balance in a person's life. So what happens when a person learns there are a lot of people, unfortunately, throughout Jewish history that went off the right track. They got lost because they studied secular subjects and different in different environments, and they lost their identity. God forbid. It changed their perspective. It brainwashed them. So on a positive note, unfortunately, Rabbi Twersky, Alav Shalom, just passed away, and he was a rabbi and a doctor, someone who was very astute, respected by people across the board, all types of people, and he was someone who never changed how he dressed and his commitment to the Torah, but he was a great influence in the secular world. He was able to impact people through his deep understanding of life, through the eyes, through the learning of Torah. He was able to blend also the secular knowledge and create his beautiful niche, which he contributed to the Jewish world and also to the larger community, and people respected him for that. So he's a good example of someone who was able to utilize the learning of secular learning and information to elevate it for Kedusha. So I want to finish today the chapter. So here we are. You say to Mas Shel Chachmas Umas Eiv de Gelulim Al Tumas Advarim B'Teilim. The Alter Rebbe is saying here that there's a problem when a person takes in the learning of the Greek philosophy or other philosophies or other ideas that are not holy, and you bring it into your brain and you process it. It's worse than just idle talk, regular stuff that is not holy, which is also negative. Why is it worse? When a person talks nonsense instead of talking Torah, so that's also a problem. However, he's only affecting the lower level of his neshama, which is no good, but it's not, it didn't hurt the brain, the neshama, the intellect of the neshama. Only the midos. Rakamidis mi say the ruach hakodesh benafshel kis bitumas klipas negesh bedvarim betelim. Haboy mi say the ruach harash beklipas zu benafshel bahamas kideleil. Again, slowly. When a person talks idle talk means things that are not important. It's Baba Mises. It's silly talk, not important. Talk about Trump. Talk about Biden. Talk about things that are what's going on today in Washington. Does it really make a difference? Can we make a difference Will our talking about it, will it change the votes and the decisions of these politicians? No one really cares what me and you are talking here in Miami, and they're gonna, if you can make a difference and you could get up, make a big push to your legislator, then fine, do it. But just talking between us, this guy, he made this decision, that decision, it's not relevant. So what happens when we talk about it? We're bringing in nonsense from the Yesod Haruach Hara Shebeklipa Zu Benafshe Bahamas Kedeleil. You're bringing in a element of klipa, of negative energy that's affecting the midas, the emotions of the neshama. But it didn't affect the intellect of the neshama. Why? Since it's shtut, it's nonsense, and it's not important, it's not relevant, it's not going to make a difference. It's not intellectual stuff. Let's say a person talks about sports. Talk about sports today, tomorrow. What does it really make a difference? Does it make an impact? It's not significant. The players are making millions of dollars. The people are happy because they're bored and they need entertainment. Okay, it's fine. It's a system. It's a culture of society, but it's not deep. Doesn't make any difference. Doesn't bring anything solid to the table. Even people who are silly people or not learned, ignoramuses, they could also talk about it. So that's one level of impurity, which is negative, but it's not as damaging as a person who goes and sits down and studies secular knowledge, not for the reason to elevate his knowledge of Torah, or not to provide for his family, or not to because they really need it, just because everyone else is doing it. Why not? I also want it. That's no good. When you learn the chachma, the intellect of the other nations who are idol worshippers, you are bringing in tuma, impurity, into your intellect of the neshama, from the klipa, from the impurity that's in the other learning. I'm going to explain to this in a moment. I just want to give an example what the Rabbi used to often mention, that the German people, talking about the Nazis, but in the general society, they were very sophisticated people, learned, and they felt that they're better than the rest of the race of the world. They're superior to everyone. Tremendous ego and arrogance. They look down on everyone. Only they felt accomplished. Everyone else was like garbage compared to them. They hated Jews. They hated Russians. They hated Americans. They felt that they had the whole wealth and strength of the world was in their hands, their control. So at the same time, when they thought and they felt, they told everyone they're so sophisticated, they would also be kind to their animals, and they supposedly was disciplined people, And they became the biggest beasts and barbarians and most cruel and evil people that ever existed. They're sadistic. They enjoyed seeing the pain and torturing people, innocent people. They enjoyed it. How does a person who studies in the university and is so sophisticated and so polite and careful when they eat, that they have to eat so perfect, and they're so disciplined? How did they become the worst monsters in the world that ever existed? How do you justify? How do you reconcile? How do you put these two extremes together? And the answer is because it's all a bunch of baloney and it's bluff. Their discipline and their sophistication was all about their own ego. It wasn't based on godliness and holiness and being humble. It was all about increasing their own ego, their own arrogance. And that's the big problem that we have in society, that as long as people think only about themselves and they don't care that another person also has feelings and another person also wants to be happy, because Hashem is in control and Hashem wants me to make space for another person, then the society cannot exist. It cannot be normal. So this idea, what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here, that when you learn other secular learning and you're bringing tumah, you're bringing impurity into your brain, one would get shocked and say, wow, how could it, this is very strong language. This can't be. Universities are good. Yeah, when they boycott Israel and products from Israel, it's just, they only see one side. They don't see that the Israelis are good people and trying so nice to help everyone, including the 2 million Arabs that are in Israel, give them equal rights and opportunities. And no, but you got to boycott Israel. Where does it start? The universities, by these professors. So no one's going to fool us anymore that just because you're a mathematician or you're a scientist or you're a law professor, you're a better person because you're so knowledgeable. Take your knowledge and do whatever you want with it. But if it's not based on Hashem and on Torah and godliness and fairness and equal opportunity, it means nothing. And this was the mandate of the founding fathers of this country. They based the principles, the Constitution, in the United States of America on equality and godliness and fairness and kindness. Again, so let's finish over here. I know I didn't explain the words Shviras HaKelim. That will have to leave for next time. It's a lengthy discussion. So please, we'll wait till Sunday. Unless you take the learning and you make it into a shovel. A kardim is to shovel or to cut, to work with it, meaning a parable, that you could take the understanding, the knowledge, the secular knowledge, and use it. You want to use it to earn a living. You have to pay your bills. You have to get married and have children and provide for them. And all that costs a lot of money. So you need to earn a living. So the Torah says, go and earn a living. But don't forget, in the morning, go to the shul. In the evening, go to the shul. And don't forget to be an honest person during your work. if you know how to utilize the secular knowledge for Hashem and for the Torah. This is the reason, basically, why the Rambam and the Ramban, Rachmanides, learned secular knowledge, and they quote and they explain certain things. For instance, the laws of Kiddush HaChodesh, how to calculate the formula, how to decide the Jewish calendar. You have to have the information. So it's very important that you're able to utilize that. Or for instance, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he was an engineer, and he was able to explain to people that when they had the Jewish ships, the Jewish cruise lines that would go to Israel, he would say, he told everyone, absolute problem to be on the ship during Shabbos, because the ship cannot be controlled, cannot be maneuvered without manual labor. Also, someone has to be there, and if it's a Jew, then it's a violation of Shabbos. And some people argue. They said, no, it's automatic. He said, listen, my friend, I'm an engineer, I'm a civil engineer, I know how the mechanics work. I'm telling you, you don't understand. And if you want to know and you want to study it and you want to get into it, fine. But just to say it's good because it's going to Israel or from Israel and it's bringing everyone together. So he told everyone clearly in the 1950s, this is a violation of the Shabbos. And just many other examples. So you see that if you have the information and you have the facts and the data, you're able to talk with confidence. But you have to know how to use it practically for the benefit of people, to give people the proper confidence and guidance. We want to respect each other, and we should get along with each other, knowing that our holy Torah that comes from Hashem is only supposed to bring us together, to unite us. And if people learn Torah or other subjects, other ideas, and it divides us to the point that we don't get along and we don't respect each other, totally negative. I want to finish with the positive, that Baruch Hashem, we're all here learning together and giving each other the proper respect. And I want to thank everyone for participating and being here on this platform today. And if you want to ask any questions,